Well, in the North Pacific, we actually have quite a range of geographical kind of islands, and but they're all concerned about temperature increases because of both the impacts on coral reefs and the marine life, which they're almost entirely reliant on, and that ranges right from like deep sea tuna fisheries and their migration patterns to also the near shore and coral ecosystems and how mangroves do, and then also shifting rainfall patterns is a real concern. There's what the projections say. There's been a lot of scientific research done recently, and what they tend to say is that we're looking at increased rainfall on average. Now that might sound like a good thing, but it's not necessarily in terms of the runoff and sedimentation flowing into the lagoon, potential for contamination of groundwater from there's problems of urbanization in some areas and lack of drainage and septic systems. So those are all issues that are likely to be exacerbated with more extreme rainfall events, and for some of the islands that I work with, like Marshall Islands, they're sand atolls. So the flooding per se isn't a problem, but there's this contamination issue which many people don't think about. They just think more water is better, but it's the way the water gets into the water storage areas and the aquifers being contaminated. One of the projects that I'll give you an example of that we're working with is in Kiribati, in a least developed country, and they identify climate change and health issues as a major gap, and that both applies to ciguatera fish poisoning, which is from a microorganism that the fish eat and then it works up through the food chain, and it's actually a neurotoxin, and it tends to be worse in disturbed environments where there's been disturbed reef ecosystems, and those kind of disturbances come from the runoff that I was talking about, the temperature, as well as human overfishing and other sources of pollution. So ciguatera increases are potentially one area that GCCA is looking at helping Kiribati with identifying and discerning the cases of ciguatera that present at the hospital with the cases of just ordinary food poisoning, salmonella and everything, which can also be exacerbated by climate change in terms of temperature and food hygiene and safety becoming a real challenge in higher temperatures. The project concept that we've been working on is improving environmental health surveillance, water quality testing, food safety testing, and vector-borne disease monitoring and control. So mosquito carried dengue fever is a major problem there, and so we're working with the Ministry of Health to improve their laboratory testing facilities and to enable the actual programs to go out, because they're very resource constrained as the least developed country. They don't even have the transport to go out and collect the samples on a regular basis. And then we're looking at, in the longer term, how can we maybe do sectoral budget support to the health sector to make that more sustainable and not just be a one-off project-based approach. There's a variety of forms that the capacity development takes. One of the things is the need for institutional strengthening and capacity building in the different agencies, to the mechanisms for them to talk to each other and gather around on issues. So that's one. Institutional capacity development is one aspect. Then there's the vocational education aspects, which we're working with another program, GIZ, on training and vocational education, and we're involving the School of Nurses so that they can better analyse the cases that I was talking about to discern that difference. And obviously WHO is also a partner on this kind of minimum standards and learning how to report on these diseases. I'm not a health expert myself, but it's been really interesting for me learning about these, so my capacity is being built at the same time. And that's just one project out of many. And then there's also obviously the education and awareness that goes along with all this about what people can do in terms of reducing overfishing and impacts on the ecosystems, and the curriculum education aspects of hygiene, just basic stuff, but it all helps improve resilience to both general health and the day-to-day, the projected impacts of climate change as well.